Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Kano from the Gamer section, and I am back with another interview. And within this interview, it's been a long time coming. It's been a while, matter of fact. The last time we had conducted an interview with this fella right here was quite about like what 3, 4 years ago, and we was a smaller channel than what we are now. We're a lot bigger, and we've grown a lot since then. But wow, it's been a minute though. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, my name is Matteo. I'm 23 years old. I'm a solo game developer, and I've been developing a shark game
Mhm.
called Maki's Adventure, paddle co-op game called Paddle Paddle Paddle, a roguelike called Rogue Jungle, and a lot of like
Right,
smaller
right.
games.
So you do have this new game called Cool Story, bro. Am I correct? So
Yeah.
let's go ahead and dive into these questions because I got questions. I want to pick your brain about this game in particular, Cool Story, bro. Okay. So what inspired the
Okay.
core concept of combining random word storytelling with competitive multiplayer gameplay?
It was a kind of a mix of Liar's Bar, where you have to play cards and lie to each other. So
Yeah.
the social aspect of Liar's Bar, combined with creative storytelling, was
Mm,
my personal goal of the game. So I wanted to try to make a social game about writing stories, and I think one of the main inspirations were a card against humanity. So you have to answer questions there with
yeah.
words that you get, you know. So I wanted to be
Hmm.
more free. So in my game, you write stories without any limits. So you just have the words, but you don't have to answer any questions or like write a story about like a
Hmm.
scenario. You just write a story what you want to do. You know, you just get four random words and have to write a story with this limitation.
Okay, most definitely. I feel that. I feel that, man. So, how did you arrive at the four random words mechanic as the foundation of the game?
The game idea I think was fully formed on one day. So on the first day of development,
Yeah.
I tried to make a really simple game because I wanted to keep development time really low and not work on the game for 2 years
Yeah.
anymore. I wanted to make a challenge to make the whole game in 1 month. So the game was developed in 4 weeks total. And I had one day to make the idea, so I tried to challenge myself.
Hmm.
And I set the goal and scope really small to make this whole game in 1 month, you know. So I kind of decided to go with the four words because I just like to have like a limit that the
Yeah.
player doesn't have like fully creative freedom,
Hmm.
but there's a kind of a limit, you know, and some random fact in it. And also there's like possibility for a Twitch integration where people can submit words to the streamer and the streamer has to write a story about the like viewers' words, you know. And
Right.
there's also like a category where you can like submit words from the player. So there's a custom word option where
Hmm.
each player can submit 8 words, and this like 4 word limitation really allowed for Twitch integration, custom words, and a lot of cool stuff to experiment with, you know.
Right. Right. I feel that. I feel that. So, like, what was the challenges that you actually faced balancing creativity and chaos in the writing system of the game?
I think one of the hardest parts was
Hmm.
to get the multiplayer working. So the whole game doesn't make any sense to play local, of course, because you can only write a single player story then. But for this game, it should be a social game, so you should make stories with your friends and rate each other.
Hmm.
So my personal most difficult thing was to make the multiplayer work, and I think I spent 1 week to develop the multiplayer lobby system, that you can create a room, join a room,
Hmm.
like the movement of the characters are synced over the network and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and the whole like multiplayer physics and stuff, and the state system that you have like a rating state, a writing state, that you can trigger items, and like this multiplayer like stage system was really difficult to
Hmm.
implement, but it was the most difficult part in the whole development, I would say.
Yeah.
But also finding the starting words. So I think I launched a game with 300 words, 300 random words in my pool,
Hmm.
and I tried to come up with like really like a variety of words. So not only animals, for example, but maybe three animal names, and then maybe like a weather name like rainy or like sun, stuff like that. You know, so the
Yeah.
words should be really random and don't fit to each other. There should be a story which has the word sausage, grandpa, like alien invasion, and I don't know, maybe thunderstorm, you know? So the words should not really fit to each other, and it should be a really random story because that's the whole game. Write stories about random words that don't fit to each other.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I feel that. I feel that. So, like, why did you decide to include optional genre assessment alongside
Hmm.
random words?
I think this like limiting genre that you have to write a story in this genre like an action story,
Hmm.
adventure, thriller, science fiction. I think this allows people because my target audience of course was people who like to write stories, you know, because people who like first person shooter games don't really like to write stories. I think so because it's like a really big
Yeah.
difference in the genres, you know. So I think by getting this like genre added to the game, assigned genre, I think this really helps to get deeper into this like
Hmm.
target group, you know, because that way people can, because a genre can change the whole story, you know. Maybe you get the 4 words, but the one round is it's about making like a sad story, like maybe a romance drama story, but in the next round you have to write an epic action story. So the genre can change the whole story, you know. And my personal goal was to make this 4 words combined with the genre into a really like creative, engaging thing, you know.
For sure, for sure, for sure. So, like, how do you ensure the players of different skill levels that can actually still enjoy and succeed in the writing phase of the game?
I think I didn't really think about that. So when I made this game, I just really wanted to make a really fun story writing game.
Hmm.
There might be people who like to write stories and who can write better stories than other people, but it's just about having a fun time in the end. So I watched streams by people who played the game, and the stories were like only 3 sentences, but really fun 3 sentences. You know, they had a
Right.
great time because they could think about some really fun and random stories, because the game is about short stories. So I think the best rounds are when the stories are really short, and I think people really enjoy to make the time limit really fast. So they
Hmm.
only have like 30 seconds to write a story because the less time you have, the better the story will be because you have to be more simplistic and more fun, you know. And I think if you write a story for 10 minutes, then it will be a much deeper story than a fun story with like 10 seconds to write, you know. So I think that by having this fun aspect, this party aspect, I didn't really care about who writes the best story. It should just be a fun evening, you know, a fun party game in the end.
I feel that. I feel that. So, what was the design philosophy behind integrating like a type racer style mini games into a storytelling game?
Yeah, the Type Racer minigame is just because I like Type Racer games, and I
Yeah.
thought about how to integrate items into it. And
Hmm.
since it's a story writing game, I thought about adding like a writing mechanic to unlock items because I don't really like. I thought about making like random like cubes appear in the sky, and then you maybe have to click on it to activate the items and be the fastest
Hmm.
clicker. But in my opinion, a Type Racer game made much more sense because it's integrated, so you
Right.
don't have to switch the gameplay. You just have to type a word, but don't have to like move the mouse and click a button,
Hmm.
because the game is about writing. And I thought a Type Racer minigame, like because there's an item, for example, the revolver, the gun. You have to type revolver and be the fastest typer who types an item name to
Hmm.
activate the item. So it's kind of like a Type Racer minigame to unlock items, yeah, basically. So, and I thought about this would be really cool because people like Type Racer games, you know.
Yeah, for sure, man, and that's unique. So, I hear you have somewhat a little bit of weapons in the game in that sense, though, right? So,
Yeah.
how do like items like a revolver, a story switch, and a letter lock influence player strategy and pacing?
My personal goal was to make really like a few items, but really special items. So
Right.
the item should not feel the same. I have a revolver, I have a story switch. The story switch swaps the stories between the players, so the player has to write a new story from another player, you know.
Hmm.
There's also like I think an upside down item where
Hmm.
you get upside, so the view is upside down and you have to write with the like head on the upside down, you know. So I think it's a reverse view with that item. There are also items like what is else in the game? Let me quickly think about it because I right now in my next game and I don't really have any remembering about the last game that way. But I think there were 5 items, and I didn't want to have 10 items, but like the same items, but
Yeah.
5 items which are different. So fewer but more unique items, you know. And I wanted to just add because the item should not switch a lot. So the item should not affect a whole story. The only item that is really like critical is the story switch because this really switches the story. But
Hmm.
the other items are more like the revolver knocks you out, so you cannot write the story for 10 seconds. It's just like a freeze for the player. It's also an item which, as I said, turns the view down, and there's not much like an negative aspect to the story, you know. So it's
Right.
just like temporarily debuff for the player.
Okay. Definitely feel that. Definitely feel that. So, how did you approach balancing disruptive items so they remain fun rather than frustrating? Like, how did you do that?
My personal idea was to keep the item time as low as possible. So I think having like the knockout time for 30 seconds would be way too long because
Hmm.
the knockout should feel like punishing but not really big punishing, you know? So it should feel like, oh no, I have to wait for 10 seconds now. But
Hmm.
having the time too high would make the game less enjoyable. So in the end, it should be like smaller amounts of the negative aspect should last fewer, you know.
Hmm.
And the story switch is the only thing, as I said, which makes the whole game kind of broken, broken because you basically have to write a new story, and it like the story switch even lead, I think, to some like people quit the game. One streamer plays the game with I think 3 friends, and
Hmm.
one of the players quit the game because he was really happy with the story, but then the story switch happened, and then the story was gone, you know. And I think it's a really punishing item, but also a really fun item because it leads to rage quits. But I will keep it in the game. Yeah, I will definitely keep it in the game.
Okay, for sure, for sure. I definitely feel that. So, what role does emergent storytelling play in your vision for player experiences?
I like creative games. I'm
Hmm.
personally a big fan of Make It Meme, for example, where you
Hmm.
have like memes and you have to write a story about the meme. Like you have to fill out the text in the meme to make like insider jokes, for example.
Oh
And
yeah,
in my game, I wanted to have like big creative, and so people should be creative and make whatever they want to do, you know. So I don't
yeah.
really limit them, like I don't just give them like a question to answer, but I
Hmm.
just give them something like blocks to use, you know, to write a story. This like word block,
Hmm.
and I want it to be a bit limiting, but not too limiting. So the people should still feel creative to take my base. So the words are the base, and they
Hmm.
should make the building on top of the base, you know. So I think that my personal thing was to keep the creativeness up, but adding some limits in to make the stories different anytime, any round, you know.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. So, can you share an actual example of unexpected player creativity that influenced your development direction?
Oh, it
Uh
is.
huh. Got you with that one. I got you with that one.
Yeah, the problem is I don't have a demo, so I didn't like develop the game. Like the
Hmm.
only thing was people had a lot of ideas on the launch day. So people said that there should be open rooms, public rooms in the game,
Yeah.
because on launch day there were only private rooms, and like I really listened to my players, you know. So I think it took me like only a bit less than a week, or like something like a week, maybe 6 days, to
Hmm.
build in like the room browser. So now you can play with random people from all over the world in random rooms, you know. So I think this idea is really genius because you don't always get to play with your friends that way. You get to play with random people, and there's an
Hmm.
in-game voice chat where you can also talk to the people. But I think having to write stories with strangers really helps to not write insider stories, you know, because in friend groups, many people wrote insider stories about the other person, you know. But when you play with strangers, then I think it's a really brilliant thing because that way you have to write stories that are really objective and not like
Hmm.
stories about a specific friend who is also in the round. Because that way you don't get only insider stories, but also like really creative things, you know.
I feel that. I feel that, man. So, like, what technical or design hurdles did you encounter when implementing real-time multiplayer interactions? That's a key question.
Oh, a lot, a lot. It was really because any delay can kill the game, you know. Because if you
Facts.
in multiplayer games, there's like a big delay potential because of course you have the PCs have to communicate and you
Hmm.
kind of have to go from your PC to a server and then to the other PC. So there
Yeah.
will be always a different delay, but you want to keep it as low as possible. And
Hmm.
this delay really killed it at some point because like there were a few animations where I have to when you shoot the rocket launcher, it happens like in VFX where the explosion happens, you know, like in
Hmm.
effect. And the effect was not long enough to like take longer than the message to like deactivate the player. So when
Hmm.
some people are hit with a rocket launcher, then the rocket effect happens, but the people don't disappear.
Yeah,
because the
yeah.
delay is too high. So the delay
Hmm.
really killed some animations that looked really terrible because they looked really like cheap that way
Yeah.
because the animation happened. So like the big explosion, but the character didn't disappear. He was still standing there. And some people were saying, oh, it seems like a bug, but it's just because the delay was too high. And so the delay really killed a lot of things. Like also this item, because the biggest thing that is still happening right now is the type racer,
Hmm.
because I need to send an function to other players that the item is activated when you type the word.
Right.
And there's like a bit of a delay, of course, because it's a multiplayer game. And if two people are like the same speed, then I don't check if the item is actually just used. So when some people have the same time, then both people activate the item. So this can kill the game
Hmm.
still. But it happened, I think, only one time, and it
Yeah.
was just right testing with friends. So I watched a lot of videos and streams, and it never happens that way. So I think it's a shit little bug, but I will definitely fix it at some point.
I feel that. I definitely feel that, man. That's a lot you had to deal with, bro. A lot you had to
Yeah.
deal with.
Online multiplayer games are always like it's terrible, but they are really fun to make. But also, the most difficult part is testing because I don't have free friends around all the time who want to test with me.
Mm-hmm.
And making the trailer is also really annoying because you need four people to make the trailer video. And I think I made two trailers for the game, and
Mm-hmm.
it was with my three other indie game friends. So they also make indie games, and they have a packed schedule. So it's hard to find a time where everyone can have time to record 1 hour of gameplay. And
Mm-hmm.
it was really painful, but I think it took us 1 week to find a time where everyone had time to record the gameplay for the trailer. And
Mm-hmm.
making marketing, like the trailer assets, making like the whole testing thing is really hard for a multiplayer game. I can definitely say that.
Oh no, that's understandable, man. But hey, you did your due diligence and you came out with a good game so far. So, like, how do you actually plan to expand or evolve the item system in future updates and other entities of the game?
Yeah, I would definitely listen to players. So if players have any ideas, like I think someone made an idea where it has like a fireball happening on the screen, so you can shoot a fireball at someone's like typewriter, and this fireball burns the paper. So the story, some parts of the story are missing that way, and you have to find the story parts and replace it. And
Mm-hmm.
having this like fire burning the paper aspect of like deleting some parts in the story, which you have to find at first. I think this is a really brilliant thing. So people have already, I think, 3 or 4 cool ideas I want to build into the game. So my next patch, I think, because I'm at an event next week, I
Mm-hmm.
think the next patch will be in 2 weeks where I have like I think 4 new items and also some bug fixes, of course, because bug fixes are always important.
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely feel that. I definitely feel that. So the next question I have to ask you is like, what do you actually hope players that take away emotionally or creatively after playing Cool Story, bro?
I just want to give them a fun time. So I don't really want like to educate people. I don't make games that make you a better story writer. I just make games that are fun. So my goal was to make a fun party game, like
Mm-hmm.
Layers Bar, for example, or make it meme, where you have like a few hours of your friends and it's just a fun time for a cheap price. Because the game I think is €2.39 right now in Germany, so it's a really affordable price. And my goal always is to make fun, small and affordable games. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't really have any like deep message in my games like many other developers who make like a really deep and like really emotional story game. My
Mm-hmm.
games are just for fun evenings and just having like fun with friends, and it's my goal to make fun games, small fun games that people can enjoy and play multiple times. And the reviews
Right.
are really pointing out that people still play the game. There's like one person who plays the game for almost 10 hours right now, and he plays 1 hour every evening, just with friends, just some casual story writing. And
Mm-hmm.
this is something that I really want to have. People who come back to the game maybe are like happy for the updates because of course you're happy when people are always waiting for your updates. And when I posted about the like room browser coming into the game in the update,
Mm-hmm.
people on Twitter really liked the post and really like said something like, "Oh, I'm really excited for that." And this really makes me happy that I'm still making the game and developing the game after release, and people are waiting for my updates. So I'm really encouraged to make more content and make the game even better now.
For sure, for sure. So you did say that you was kind of working on your next game.
Yeah.
So, can you give us a little hint of what it could be without spoiling
Oh,
too much?
it's too early. It's only 1 week in development, or less than a week even. But it will be a co-op game like Pede 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 again. A fun co-op game, and the control scheme is the most unique thing I've ever seen in a Steam video game, I think.
Yeah.
So the control scheme is really something that my people at my university, I showed it to my friends, and they were like, how did you even get the idea? And I was like, I don't know. Because the game is so unique and so fun to play, just because it's not with the keyboard.
Hmm.
I can announce that the game is not controlled with the keyboard, but I cannot cannot say anything more. But the game is so fun to play. It's a rage game, co-op, and a really cool control scheme.
Got you. I got you. So the multi-billion-dollar question. You remember
Yeah.
that? You remember I told you last time we had did an interview, the billion
No,
dollar question.
I don't know.
All right. So why should people want to buy and play Cool Story, bro?
I think because it's really cheap, really fun, and if you play with friends, it's a really fun game, of course, but you need friends to play, or
Hmm.
you have to play with randoms. But the game is most fun if you play with three friends, and yeah. I don't have any big message. I just made a fun game, and it's only €2, so you have nothing to lose. It's less than a Big Mac.
Nah, I feel that. I feel that. So, to the people that may not know, when will Cool Story Bro be released, and what platforms will it be on?
Cool Story was already on PC right now on Steam, but
Hmm.
the game, I think, my plan right now is to keep it on PC only because the game is not successful enough to be on consoles, and also the game is not made for consoles because you need to type, and typing games on consoles are not working, you know. They're
Hmm.
just not fun enough, I think. And I think it was a really fun experiment. I will keep the game in my plan. So the game is
Hmm.
still in development, and I still plan to add more things to the game, like cosmetics, skins that you can wear,
Right.
also new maps, like new rooms to have the game in, more words, and I'm always looking for more words to add, so people can right now submit words to the game that
Hmm.
I can build into the game then. And I'm also working on a Twitch integration where the chat. So right now, the Twitch streamer chat can vote for words and like
Hmm.
submit words for the story. But in the next update or next few updates, I will add a rating function so people in chat can rate the stories and be in the be viewers in the story in the room, you know, with the names on the head.
Most definitely. Most definitely. So, where can they actually find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm always Zoro, so always the same name on Twitter and X. You can find me on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitch, on YouTube. I'm everywhere, you know. I just try to make content here, and I think I'm on every known social media right now.
Now, for sure, for sure. So, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Thank you for blessing us with this interview. And like I
Thank
said,
you.
oh, it's no problem. And make sure y'all like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the post notification bell. Link will be in the descriptions below for everything. And we're gonna leave it on that note. We're out. Peace.
Bye.